The faint hum of fluorescent lights buzzed through the open office of Dalton Industries, a mid-sized marketing company based in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. The building, a sleek blend of glass and steel, had floor-to-ceiling windows offering a clear view of a lively, fast-moving city. For 25-year-old Alana Lawson, this wasn't just a job, it was her first real chance to prove she could make it on her own. On her first day, she walked into the office with quiet confidence, wrapped in a polished look that didn't give away how much this meant to her. Her deep brown skin glowed in the natural sunlight pouring in through the windows, and her natural curls framed a face filled with determination and youthful optimism. But Alana wasn't just any new hire. She was the daughter of Gerald Lawson, the CEO of Dalton Industries. That, however, was a detail she chose not to share with anyone. Gerald Lawson, now 55, was well known and deeply respected in the business world. His strong leadership style and sharp mind had earned him a reputation as a visionary, someone who led with both strength and integrity. But this story wasn't about him. It was Alana's story. Before she started, Alana had pleaded with her father to treat her like any other employee. She didn't want special treatment or a shortcut to the top. She wanted to earn her way. After some hesitation, Gerald agreed and placed her in the marketing department under a manager named Ryan Harper. Ryan, 45, was known for being all business. With a neatly trimmed beard and a noticeable taste for pricey ties, he had a reputation for getting results. But underneath his professional appearance was someone who judged quickly and dismissed even faster. From the moment Alana introduced herself, Ryan's greeting was cold and clipped. His handshake was short, and he looked at her like she was just another resume he didn't have time to read. "Marketing assistant, right?" he said, barely making eye contact. "Let's get one thing straight. I don't have time to babysit. I expect you to keep up." Alana's stomach tightened, but she stayed composed and offered a polite smile. "Understood, Mr. Harper. I'm here to learn and contribute." Ryan gave a sharp nod and turned away. "Good. Your desk is over there. Stay out of my way." Her workspace was a small cubicle tucked at the far edge of the office, isolated from the rest of the team. The location didn't feel like a coincidence. It felt like a message. Ryan wanted to make sure she knew her place, or lack of one, in the office hierarchy. Still, Alana reminded herself of her mission. This was about building her own career, on her own terms. She didn't need special treatment or someone to guide her step by step. But the first few weeks hit harder than she expected. While her co-workers bounced ideas around in energetic brainstorming sessions, Alana found herself left out. When she spoke up, her thoughts were brushed off, usually with sarcasm. "Good try, Alana," Ryan would say, his voice dripping with fake kindness. "But maybe let the more experienced folks take the lead on this one." What hurt most wasn't just being ignored, it was the tone. Ryan didn't think she was capable. He didn't think she belonged. Still, she refused to show it. Every night, she stayed late at the office. She went through campaign data, refined her proposals, and studied successful strategies. She wanted her work to prove her worth. But Ryan didn't seem to notice. Or care. "Coffee run," he barked one morning, tossing a $20 bill onto her desk without looking up. "I need my usual. Don't take all day." Alana stared at the bill for a second before grabbing her coat. As she walked past her co-workers, she caught their whispers. "She's not gonna last," someone murmured. "Yeah," another voice added, "he's really got it out for her." Alana clenched her jaw. They were wrong. She wasn't going anywhere. The weeks dragged on, and things didn't improve. Ryan continued to hand her demeaning tasks and dismiss her contributions. But it went deeper than that. In meetings, he often twisted her ideas just enough to claim them as his own, presenting them as if they were his from the start. One Monday morning, the team gathered in the conference room to brainstorm ideas for a new campaign. The client was a mid-sized tech company out of San Diego. Alana had spent her entire weekend researching the market, identifying key trends, and preparing a detailed proposal that she believed could really make a difference. "Anyone have suggestions?" Ryan asked, looking around the room. His eyes paused on Alana, not with interest, but with something closer to a warning. Alana hesitated for a second, then raised her hand. "I think we should focus on the growing interest their target audience has in eco-friendly solutions. If we present the product as sustainable, I think it could really connect with people." Ryan smirked. Leaning back in his chair, Ryan raised an eyebrow. Sustainable, huh? That's a bold approach, he said, his voice cool and unimpressed. But instead of moving on, he turned toward another team member. What do you think, Jared? Jared glanced at Alana. A flicker of apology crossed his face before he responded. Actually, I think Alana has a solid point. The market data definitely supports a sustainability angle. Ryan's smirk faded. His tone turned stiff. Fine. We'll look into it. By the time the meeting wrapped up, Ryan had taken Alana's entire idea and reworded it as if it were his own, leaving her out of the picture completely. She sat quietly, her hands gripping the edges of her notebook. Speaking up wouldn't have made a difference. It never did. And Ryan didn't stop at stealing credit. His comments started to get personal, wrapped in casual words that cut deeper than they sounded. One afternoon, as Alana presented an ad draft she'd been working on, Ryan leaned back and said with a smirk, I've got to say, I'm surprised you're this polished. Most people in your position don't come off so refined. Alana paused. The words hit harder than she expected. People in my position? She asked calmly. Ryan gave her a tight smile. You know what I mean. Let's not turn this into something it's not. But Alana knew exactly what he meant. The way he questioned her qualifications, the way he spoke down to her, it wasn't subtle anymore. There was an edge in his tone that made it clear he didn't think she belonged. But she wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her upset. She nodded, walked out of his office, and kept her fists clenched at her sides. Then one morning, Alana came in to find a tall stack of paperwork dumped across her desk. On top was a sticky note that read, Sort this by end of day. Thanks. The job was far below her level, something you'd hand off to a junior intern. When she asked Ryan about it, he just shrugged like it was nothing. Everyone's got to do their part, he said, pretending to be casual. You're not too good for a little grunt work, are you? Alana didn't answer. She just sat down and got to work, organizing the mess one page at a time. The hours dragged, but her focus never wavered. The longer she worked, the stronger her determination grew. She wasn't going to let him push her out. She knew she had more to offer, and she'd prove it, one way or another. By the time she finished, the office was nearly empty. Ryan strolled past her cubicle and stopped for a moment. Still here? He asked, pretending to be surprised. Looks like someone's trying to prove a point. Alana didn't look up. Good night, Mr. Harper, she said calmly as he walked away. A small smile crept across her face. He had no idea who she really was, or what she was capable of. That Friday morning was unusually hectic at Dalton Industries. The team was preparing for a major client presentation, and the office buzzed with nervous energy. Of course, Ryan was doing his part to raise the pressure. He barked instructions left and right, pacing the floor like a man who thrived on chaos. Alana sat at her desk, carefully reviewing her notes. She had been assigned an important segment of the presentation, an opportunity she hoped would finally let her show what she could do. When the team gathered in the conference room for one last run-through, Ryan took his seat at the head of the table, looking irritated and smug all at once. Alana sat near the end of the table with her notebook open, ready to present her section. Let's start with creative concepts, Ryan said, scanning the room. His eyes stopped on Alana. Alana, do you have something for us? She stood up confidently. Yes, she said. I've looked into the client's brand voice and audience, and I've developed a campaign concept based on... Hold on, Ryan interrupted, raising a hand. Before you dive in, I just want to remind everyone, we need polished ideas. Now's not the time to experiment. His words landed like a slap. A few people in the room shifted awkwardly, but no one said anything. Alana took a steady breath and continued, even though she felt a knot forming in her chest. As I was saying, she went on, her voice clear, I believe if we position the product as both innovative and socially responsible, it'll connect with the target market. I've put together a campaign theme that focuses on... That's enough, Ryan cut her off again. His tone was sharp and dismissive. We'll circle back to this later. If there's time. Alana stood frozen, her fingers gripping her notebook. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. The tension in the room was heavy, almost hard to breathe through. But Ryan just carried on like nothing had happened. He called on someone else to share their ideas, brushing the moment aside. By the time the meeting wrapped up, Ryan had claimed full credit for the campaign direction, even though most of it had been built off of Alana's original idea. As the rest of the team left the room, Alana stayed behind. She was tired of swallowing her frustration. When Ryan came back to grab his notes, she didn't hesitate. Mr. Harper, she said, her voice strong, why do you keep ignoring my work? Ryan looked up, clearly caught off guard. But the surprise quickly faded, and his face hardened. Excuse me. You heard me, Alana replied, stepping closer. I've worked harder than anyone on this team. But you keep cutting me off, belittling everything I contribute, and taking credit for what I've done. Why? Ryan let out a short laugh and leaned against the table casually. You want the truth, he said. Fine. You don't belong here. You're in over your head. And honestly, I'm tired of fixing your mistakes. Alana's heart pounded, but she didn't back down. You've never even given me the chance to prove what I can do, she said. You judged me the moment I walked through the door. Ryan folded his arms, the smug smile returning. Maybe this just isn't the right job for you. Maybe you should be doing something more in line with your strengths. His meaning was clear, and this time, Alana snapped. You don't get to decide what I'm capable of, she shot back. And for the record, I've already done more for this campaign than you ever will. Ryan's face turned red. He stepped toward her, voice rising. Watch your tone, young lady. You might think you're special, but you're just another assistant. Easily replaceable. Before Alana could say anything else, the conference room door swung open. Standing there was Gerald Lawson. His tall frame filled the doorway, and he carried himself with calm authority. His dark suit was sharp and perfectly pressed, and his eyes quickly took in the scene. What's going on in here? Gerald asked, his voice low but firm. Ryan froze. His confidence evaporated instantly. Mr. Lawson, I was just what? Gerald asked, stepping into the room. Then he looked at Alana, his expression softening. Alana, are you okay? The room went quiet. Ryan's face went pale as realization hit him. Wait, she's my daughter, Gerald finished, his tone flat and unwavering. And based on what I just walked in on, it sounds like you've been treating her in a way I find completely unacceptable. Ryan opened his mouth, but stumbled over his words. Mr. Lawson, I didn't realize, and that's exactly the problem, Gerald cut in. You didn't realize because you didn't care. You wrote her off before you even gave her a chance. He took a step closer. You dismissed her like she didn't matter. But now, you're going to see just how wrong you were. Ryan looked like he wanted to explain himself, but Gerald raised a hand to stop him. We'll deal with this later. For now, you're dismissed. Alana and I have a presentation to finish. Ryan didn't argue. He just grabbed his things and rushed out of the room. Once the door closed behind him, Gerald turned to Alana. His tone shifted again, gentle and encouraging. You handled that well, he said. But from now on, you won't have to fight these battles alone. Tears pricked at the corners of Alana's eyes, but she held them back. Relief swept over her like a wave. Thank you, Dad. Gerald smiled and rested a hand on her shoulder. Let's show them what you're really made of. The door clicked shut behind Ryan, leaving father and daughter alone in the quiet room. Alana let out a deep breath. Weeks of stress and mistreatment seemed to lift from her shoulders in that moment. Gerald moved toward her desk, eyes scanning over the notes she'd been working on. Walk me through your plan, he said. His voice was no longer just a dad's. It was the voice of a leader, serious and focused. Alana nodded, her confidence coming back. She began to explain her strategy, laying out her ideas clearly and with purpose. The same points she'd tried to make in the meeting earlier, but this time, there were no interruptions. No passive-aggressive comments. No dismissive glances. Gerald listened closely. He asked smart, thoughtful questions. He nodded as she spoke, really taking in what she was saying. By the time she finished, a smile had crept across his face. This is outstanding work, he said. If others can't see that, it's their loss. Let's make sure this campaign gets the attention it deserves. Later that afternoon, when the team reconvened for the big client presentation, the energy in the room was tight. Everyone could feel it. Ryan sat quietly, stiff in his seat, avoiding everyone's eyes. Alana walked in with her head high, Gerald right beside her. The meeting kicked off smoothly. Each person presented their part, and when it was time for Alana's segment, Gerald stood up to introduce her. This next part of the presentation, he said, was developed by one of our most promising team members. I'll let her take it from here. Alana stepped forward. Her hands felt a little clammy, but her voice came out strong. She walked the room through her proposal just as she had with her father earlier. As she spoke, she noticed people leaning in, taking notes, nodding along. Her co-workers were actually listening. Even Ryan, sitting stiffly at the end of the table, couldn't hide the look on his face. He knew. Everyone in the room did. By the time Alana wrapped up her part of the presentation, it was clear the clients were impressed. One of them, a woman in her mid-50s wearing stylish glasses and a kind smile, turned toward Gerald. "This is exactly what we had in mind," she said. "Who was behind this?" Alana opened her mouth, unsure what to say, but Gerald answered before she could. "All credit goes to Alana," he said without hesitation. "She's been one of the key creative minds behind this campaign from day one." The room filled with applause. A genuine smile appeared on Alana's face, small, but heartfelt. For the first time since she joined the team, she felt truly recognized. That evening, as the office slowly cleared out, Gerald asked Ryan to meet with him privately. Alana wasn't invited to the conversation, but from where she sat, she could see the whole thing through the glass wall of her father's office. She watched as Ryan's shoulders slumped under Gerald's firm tone. Whatever was being said, it clearly hit home. It didn't take long before Ryan stepped out, his face pale, all that usual arrogance gone. He walked out of the building quickly, without saying a word. Few minutes later, Gerald came over to Alana's desk. "Ryan will no longer be in charge of your department," he said calmly. "He's been reassigned to a new position, one where he'll have less room to abuse his authority." Alana nodded. She appreciated the change, but kept her tone steady. "I don't want any special treatment, Dad." "You're not getting special treatment," Gerald replied, his voice gentler now. "You're getting what you've earned. There's a difference." He paused and looked at her closely. "You've shown more grace and strength than most people would in your place. I'm proud of you. But don't ever feel like you have to prove your worth to anyone, not even me. You are enough, just as you are." Those words landed deep in Alana's heart. After everything she had been through, they felt like healing. When Monday came, something about the office felt different. Ryan's absence was noticeable, and although nobody openly talked about it, there was a quiet sense of ease that hadn't been there before. The tension he brought to the workplace had disappeared, replaced by a lighter, more open environment. Alana picked up on the change right away. People who used to keep their distance now stopped by her desk. Some asked for her input, others gave feedback or asked questions about her ideas. Even Jared, the teammate who had stood up for her weeks earlier, came over with a big smile. "Hey Alana," he said warmly. "Just wanted to say, you crushed that presentation. It's great to see you getting the recognition you deserve." "Thanks, Jared," she said, touched by his sincerity. "That really means a lot." As the days passed, Alana stepped into a stronger role. With Ryan no longer looming over her, she felt free to contribute without fear of being dismissed. Her creativity flowed, and her self-confidence grew with every project. Soon, she began seeing the impact of her work, not just in how others responded, but in how she viewed herself. She no longer needed outside validation to believe in her abilities. One afternoon, Gerald called her into his office. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, highlighting walls filled with awards and framed photos of the company's big moments. He motioned for her to sit. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," he began, his voice reflective. "And while I'm proud of how you handled it all, I hate that you had to go through it in the first place." Alana sat quietly, her hands resting in her lap. "It wasn't easy," she admitted. "But I don't regret staying. I needed to prove to myself that I could handle it." Gerald leaned forward slightly, looking at her with steady eyes. "You should never have to prove your worth to anyone," he said. "Especially not to people who treat you unfairly out of ignorance or bias. But what you have shown is resilience. And that's something no one can take away from you." His words stayed with her, deep and true. Through everything, Alana had faced prejudice and disrespect, but she hadn't let it break her. She stayed true to herself, and came out stronger for it. Few weeks later, during a team lunch celebrating the campaign's success, Alana sat surrounded by colleagues who now saw her in a new light, not just as the assistant, but as someone who had earned their respect. Looking around the room, she felt a powerful truth settle in her heart. This journey hadn't just been about proving herself. It had been about shifting people's perspectives, about challenging the way they saw others like her. And in doing so, she had opened doors not just for herself, but for others who might face the same uphill battles. The lunch came to a close. Gerald stood and raised his glass. To the team, he said, his voice full of pride. And to Alana, whose dedication and insight remind us of what fairness and hard work really mean. Let's all keep working toward a place where everyone's voice is heard and respected. The room erupted in cheers. Alana smiled, her heart full. This wasn't just a personal win, it was a victory for what was right. Her story is proof that real strength shows up through persistence and belief in yourself. Bias and judgment might try to tear someone down, but they can't erase the value of character, effort, and integrity. And her journey serves as a call to action, for everyone to create workplaces where people are treated with fairness, and where no one is overlooked or underestimated.